Okay, so in this video, we are going to look at alternative building materials to help you save money when building, especially in these difficult economic times, right? It's a well-known fact that the dollar rate has skyrocketed since like June till November. As at the time of making this video, the prices of building materials have gone really high, and so I'm here to help you with alternative materials you can use instead of the standard ones, and some tips to save money when building coming up next. Okay, so the very first tip I want to share with you is cement. When it comes to buying cement, most people typically buy 42.5 R grade cement, either Gasem, Dangote, Supersem, Simaf, or whatever brand you have in your area, right? Now, do you know you don't always need to use 42.5 grade cement? It's a shocker, right? Well, you can actually use 32.5 R grade cement, but during which stage of the building process? So if you are doing like plastering, like I'm doing right now, you don't necessarily need to buy 42.5 R grade cement. You can use 32.5 R grade, provided you trust the quality of the cement. It is fine for plastering, it's fine for doing your tile work and all that, right? And even if your building is not like some mega structure, sometimes you can use 32.5 grade, though the preferred one is 42.5. Today, 42.5 R grade cement Gasem sells for 95 Ghana cedis. However, 32.5 R grade sells for about 80 to 85 Ghana cedis, depending on the brand. So, assuming you were buying 1,000 bags of cement, that's 10,000 Ghana cedis worth of savings you are going to use for the 32.5 grade cement on plastering and other minor cement works that you would need to do on your building project. If you are doing block work, right, and ideally 42.5 grade cement is required to hold your block work and your pillars and all that. But when you're doing plastering and floor works and tiling, 32.5 is okay. So if you're buying 100, you save on 1,000 Ghana cedis worth of cement. The next point is to use locally made tiles. Now, I don't know which country you're watching from, but in Ghana, we have the imported tiles and the locally made tiles. When you look at it on the surface level, they are almost the same. Like if I did tiles here and I did tiles here, it will be very difficult for the ordinary viewer or bystander to see that this is the one which was imported or these are the locally made ones. However, the locally made ones, they tend to break when you don't handle it with care. All tiles break, but the locally made ones tend to break. So if you handle it with care, they are way cheaper than the imported ones. Most people don't know. So just check your local area and see if they have the locally manufactured tiles and buy them. Another reason why it is going to be good for you to buy locally manufactured tiles is because the government is going to put a ban on imports of rice and tiles and other materials where we have the local versions. So we have local rice, but many people have a preference and a taste for foreign rice. So the government is banning that because we use a lot of dollars to import all these things, and ultimately it's affecting our exchange rate. So you just put yourself in a good position if you buy the locally made tiles, or if you want the imported ones, look out for when there's a discount or a promotion going on and buy them. Next, let's look at POP. If you want to do POP, I always advise don't do full POP. It's nice if you have the money, but then a lot of money is going to go into it. So alternatively, you can just put a POP along the edges or the four corners or four walls of your building, right? And then you just do some small designs, especially if they are the bedrooms where most visitors will not go. Put it around the four corners and they can paint the roof and it will look really good, right? So you don't need to do full-blown POP heavy with LED lights. If you can afford it, do so, but if you can't, just do it around the corners and you'll still be fine. The next point is a very important point, especially for people who are now going to start their building project, right? Many people, when it comes to digging the foundation, hire laborers who go and dig. Sometimes they use 5 days, sometimes they use 6 days, sometimes they use 10 days, depending on how big the plot of land is and how deep they need to dig, right? But do you know you can actually use an excavator to dig and complete that work in 1 day? Now, typically an excavator charges about 2,000 to 3,000 Ghana cedis per day, right? And if you supervise and you focus, they can do the whole digging of your foundation for you in one day. And so you pay 3,000 instead of paying about 5 laborers 200 Ghana cedis each. That's 1,000 Ghana cedis a day, right? And if they use 5 days, you are going to pay 5,000. If they use 6 days, you're going to pay 6,000. So use an excavator and save yourself a lot of money. The fifth point is to ensure that you cut your own blocks, right? This may seem a bit difficult or too technical for most people, but if you buy cement and you buy all the materials you require, you can get the guys to come and cut the blocks for you. And you realize that you get more blocks if you cut it than if you went to buy the blocks. So assuming that you are now starting your building project and you need about 5,000 blocks. Today, a block is selling for about 7 Ghana cedis. So that's 35,000 Ghana cedis. However, if you were going to cut your own blocks, you are going to use about maybe 20,000 Ghana cedis to produce 5,000 blocks, right? Including the labor, the cement and everything. So cut your own blocks and save on money. Really, really important, especially if you are now starting, or maybe you're even going to do your walls, you haven't bought your blocks, or maybe you've done the ground floor, you need to do the first floor as well. Cut your own blocks. And it's also a very good point because cement lasts for 3 months, blocks can last up to 2 years. So the rate at which cement prices are going up, it makes sense for you to go and buy cement and cut your blocks today and use it even a year later, right? So the sixth point is to ensure that you supervise your building project to avoid rework. Oh my. Many a times, a lot of people waste so much money when building because they don't have the right people to supervise their project. Either they are in the diaspora or they are too busy to supervise their project or they have no clue what to look out for, right? And so going to the site physically is mandatory if you are building in Ghana or in Africa, because many a times the laborers have their own vision of what they want to do. It's not a person, you know, I want a pillar here, I want this design here. You go and the person is doing something completely different. Sometimes even for the POP, they want to do their own designs. Meanwhile, you've shown them the kind of design you want. For the roof, they are thinking, oh, a secret roof. Meanwhile, you said you want a full-blown roof. So if you don't supervise at a micro level, the people are going to do so many things that are not going to be to your taste and to your standards. And a lot of rework is going to come, which is a lot of money. Sometimes they need to break walls again, cut things. Oh, supervision is really, really important. And if you're in the diaspora or you're even in Ghana and you want us to supervise your building project for you, we would love to do so. Send us an email. Our email is in the description below. And then we would see if your building project is in Accra or pretty close to Accra. We would love to do that at a small cost for you. When it comes to painting, a lot of people prefer the normal paints because that's what they are used to. Some people also prefer certain cladding, some people prefer stones and all that. Stones are really good, but they are really expensive and time consuming to fix. If you have the money, why not? Go ahead and do it. But if you want to do paint, then Graffiato paints are really, really good because they don't peel like the way normal paints peel. And apart from that, they also prevent dampness and they really have a good design with all the texture going on and it's more modern, right? And so if you look at the long-term value you are getting from Graffiato, it makes more sense than painting where you are going to be painting like every 2 years and all that, right? So use Graffiato if you can afford. Now, when it comes to roofing, a lot of people just go in for the most expensive options without really understanding what goes into the roofing. Now, the roofing, we have like 0.4 thickness, we have 0.45, 0.5, right? 0.45 to 0.5 is pretty good, right? Like it will fade less often, and then the possibility of leakage in like 50 years is very, very low, right? So you don't necessarily need to go for 0.5, you can do 0.45. However, people also go for pure aluminum instead of like an aluminum alloy. An aluminum alloy can be like alu zinc, right? Now, pure aluminum, you need it when you are close to a place where there's a lot of corrosion, like the beach side, you are building by the beach, etc. You can go for pure aluminum because the salt and the air around the beach can easily cause your non-aluminum roofing sheets to get rusted and to corrode and to lose color. However, if you're not building anywhere close to any water body or beach or salt water, etc., any factory, etc., you don't necessarily need pure aluminum because it's about 1.5 times more expensive than the alloy of aluminum, like alu zinc, right? So where you can afford, go for pure aluminum, but I would advise go for alu zinc. It looks the same. It doesn't also rust easily, especially if you are not close to any water body, etc. So alu zinc is an alternative you can use instead of aluminium. My last point is that have more windows and use it to save on air conditioning, because the cost of wiring and doing all the piping for air conditioning, even purchasing the air conditioning for your house, like a 2 or 3 bedroom house, can cost you all the way up to, let's say, 20,000 or more. However, if you have a lot of big window spaces, it will cost you maybe 7 to 14,000 cedis, right? And you get natural air, you get also a lot of lighting during the day and all that. And it's a better alternative to paying a lot of electricity bills in the future. Even if you don't have air conditioning, you may be using fan if you don't have a lot of windows, right? So do a lot of windows. It's also beautiful. It makes your house beautiful instead of just doing the air conditioning. So these are my tips. What are your tips for alternative building materials? This is a series we are going to be doing. We're also going to be interviewing people who have experiences on alternative building materials like rammed earth, etc., bricks, containers, shipping containers and all that. So if you haven't yet subscribed, kindly subscribe, turn on all notifications, and also leave your own tips and experiences in the comments below. The best will be featured on the community. Thanks, baby.